The middays in the Element Wealth Studios. Joining us now, Hank Burdine, board member of the Mississippi Levee Commission. Hank, how you doing this morning, sir?
Man, wind about to blow us away up here in the Delta, but we getting ready to plant crops, and hopefully the river's going to do right this year and come on up with its normal rise and not have too much water in the river this year. Everything rocking and rolling up here.
Well, good. That's good to hear. What about all this rain we've had thus far this year? Is that going to delay the farmers getting out in the fields?
Yeah, I don't think so. If it just put a lot of good moisture in the ground, they are knocking the tops off the fields right now, trying to get that grass off as it grew through the winter time. So we got plenty of moisture in the ground. The weather cooperates. We're ready to rock and roll up here.
Awesome. Let's hope we have a good yield, a productive growing season. We certainly need it. All right, tell us the latest on the Yazoo Pumps. There's some news breaking there.
Yeah, there really is. It seems that from our last meeting we had in Rolling Fork 6 or 8 months ago, that the administration, the powers to be there, came up, got their heads together and said, look, we got to do something. So they came up with a flow chart and a deal within the next 2 to 3 months. We should have some answers on what the plan's going to be. They had a memorandum of understanding between EPA and the Secretary of Army for Civil Works to get a plan made, get everything down on paper. Let's get this thing going. Let's get some answers. All right, in February, they were to meet with the local people, the powers to be, the elected officials up here, to hear that side again, and then to get something in order to put something together to get it going. All right, March, we're going to map a bunch of different things that they need to know where different areas are, where wetlands are, where low-income housing is, where houses are. That's happening in March. And then April, they're going to come back in here and get with the stakeholders. That's us. That's the people on the ground with their preliminary findings. And then in May, they're going to put all that data together. And by June, the Army is supposed to deliver a preferred approach for flood risk reduction solutions for the Yazoo backwater area. That means we're going to get something done.
So,
that doesn't mean we're going to have pumps built.
Right.
But that means that they're going to put everything together to come up with a solution. Now, this last week, we had 2 days of meetings in Vicksburg. One was for locals to come in and give their take on what's happening down here on the ground in the South Delta during all these backwater floods and everything. Then the next day, we had closed-door meetings, 3 or 4 of them with elected officials. And then we had farmers' input into it. And we had another meeting that I was involved in. These were invitation-only meetings where the panel sat down and listened to them. And then they had a closed-door meeting with the environmentalists. Now, the people that came to listen were, let me pull it up right there. You got it in front of you.
I do, yep.
We had the Undersecretary of Army for Civil Works, Michael O'Connor. He's been here a couple of times. We had the Director of Water Division, Region 4 for the EPA, Ms. Gettle. Then we had Brian Fraser. He was Director of the Oceans, Wetlands, and Committees for the EPA. And then we had Ms. Stacy Jensen, who is Acting Director of Policy and Legislation in the Office for Assistant Secretary of the Army. These are the people designated to listen, to interpolate all this stuff, to understand it, and to put together a program to solve our problems down here. Now, we talked a lot about non-structural issues, what you can do to help out the flooding down here. This is what the environmentalists want. They want you to raise the houses up, build ring levees around those houses. Okay, how are you going to do that? You put a ring levee out there, backwater flood comes up, you still got a boat to your house. You got to run a pump every day to keep the water out of the inside of the ring levee. Your septic systems don't work. So what you're going to do, go to back at 11, go to the bathroom every time you got to visit the toilet? That doesn't work. You raise the houses. A lot of these houses can't be raised because they're on concrete slabs. It costs 3 times the value of the house. You still can't get there. You'd have to raise all the roads. You're talking about 3 highways down through there and umpteen miles of county roads that would cost twice the amount of the cost of the pumps to start off with. So there are maybe some monetary programs that can be thrown down in there during this time, but I personally don't believe, and the panel understood, there's not an answer to this problem without having the pumps.
Well, what I was going to ask you is what precipitated this sudden interest from the EPA and the Corps of Engineers, the Army? What caused them to finally take action, put this plan together, do you think?
It was from the last meeting when they came down here, when we had Senator Wicker, we had Senator Sidney Hyde-Smith, and we had Representative Benny Thompson down here. Mm-hmm. And we had a meeting, and the question was specifically asked by Senator Sidney Hyde-Smith to the Rodriguez Fox, the EPA administrator up there in Washington. Why was this vetoed that the EPA and the Corps of Engineers together came up with a plan? Mm-hmm. Representative Thompson said, well, we got to do it legal. It's got to be legal. She asked a point-blank question to the lady that wrote the veto. What were the legalities why it was vetoed? She couldn't answer the question. She has yet to answer the question. So I think from all of that has come to the administration, something has to be done, and it's time for action, and no more do you sit around and talk it, throw it back and forth like a political football. Let's get something done, and that, I think, is what came up with the plan to make this 4-month deal and to get it into fruition, and let's see what we're going to do. Yeah,
so I am looking at the plan, Hank, and there is a progression of events that begins in January through June, and in June the deliverable is that the Army delivers a preferred approach or approaches for flood risk reduction solution or solutions for the area. You seem to be fairly confident that pumps have to be a part of that solution. Is there any other technique that would work?
From all of the talks I've been into, from the many times I've been there listening to everything that was said, including the environmentalists' non-structural approaches, there is nothing that will work, in my viewpoint, and in a lot of the scientific minds' viewpoints, that will get the water off of there, except pumps.
Gotcha.
Now, I was not involved with the environmentalist meeting, the last meeting of the day down there. However, I do understand that a lot of the same issues were hashed out. You need to build ring levees. You need to raise them. One of them even has stated publicly that they just need to take the whole Yazoo backwater levee out, let the whole Delta flood every time the river comes up, and forget it. Come on now, man. Let's look. What are we talking about? Now, from what I understand, one of the environmentalists, the National Wildlife Federation, got up and said, listen, when that backwater flood comes up, that's not a wetland. That's a lake. The wetlands are 8 to 10 feet underwater. They're destroying the wetlands by letting that much water sit on there for 6 or 7 months whenever we have a big flood like that. National Wildlife Federation understands it. It's the Sierra Club, the Audubon Society, Healthy Gulf, American Rivers. Anytime you say pumps, you don't get pee out of your mouth before they say no. I don't think they have been able to come up with one viable solution to this thing other than let it continue to decimate down there. Now, on the other hand, you have all of the environmentalists that are local in Mississippi. You've got the Department of Wildlife Fisheries and Parks. You got the Mississippi Forestry Commission. You got the Nature Conservancy of Mississippi. You got the Mississippi Wildlife Federation. All of them see the devastation. They understand the need for something to be done.
Yeah.
And they understand, I'm sure, they would not have written these letters of appreciation and approval that the pumps are the solution.
Gotcha. Hank, appreciate you joining us and providing that update, and always enjoy your insights, sir. We're going to be tracking this, and I know we'll be talking about it more as we see progress unfold. Thanks a lot, Hank.
Thank y'all. Let's get it on.
Yes, sir. Coming right back, middays from the Element Well Studios.